Well, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's webinar. People streaming in here. It is good to see you all. Well, not seeing you, but good to have you all here. I think we're going to have a good session today. We've worked hard on this one and have a bunch of really great clients that are joining us as well to share their experience with these 5 essential aspects of what we think all manufacturing companies need today. So I love to kick these webinars off with asking people where they are joining from. So if you would throw into the chat, that would be brilliant. And thank you, Luke, from kicking us off in Michigan, and Broussard, Louisiana, JD, and Brainerd, Minnesota, McMinnville, Oregon, and IBC, and Kentucky, and Illinois, and Kelowna. All right. Hawaii. Oof, very good. Cheryl must be on vacation. I don't think Cheryl lives there all the time. Indianapolis. Awesome. Leander, Texas. All right. Santa Barbara. Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's jump right in because we have a definitely full agenda. Love to start by introducing Brian here on our team. How's it going, Brian?
Hey, everyone. It's going great today, Paul. Thanks.
Good. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Thank you for throwing in the chat. Feel free to use the chat if things resonate with you, if you want to share an insight. But if you have a specific question for us or any one of the guests that'll be joining us, please put those in the Q&A because it's much easier to kind of administer them there and make sure we get to them. Let's get going. So always like to start these by sharing our mission statement. We deliver powerful manufacturing software by deeply understanding our clients' challenges in order to meaningfully improve their businesses and in turn their communities. You know, it's that communities part that's just so important to me and to us. Manufacturing is the ground floor foundation of everything that's made in the world, especially machining. And it's just so important that companies like yours thrive to help our whole economy and whole world. Today, we are going to talk about 5 main aspects: having all of your information as much as possible in one spot, getting rid of paper, having deeply embedded, good, solid, quality-driven business processes, taking on a culture improvement mindset and having that really deeply embedded into your culture for continuous improvement, and having really great partners. For those that aren't as familiar with who we are, we're going to stare a little bit here right now just about what the history is of ProShop and our team and our product. So let's do that now. So back in 1997, my partners and I started a machine shop right out of college. The guy on the far right there took out a second mortgage on his house, and that was enough money for us to buy a Haas VF4, used manual mill and lathe, and some equipment, and some, for those in the Northwest, some Boeing surplus desks and other things like that, and start our shop. As we grew, we kind of outgrew the Excel-based management system we started, and we'll get more into that here in a few minutes. And really wasn't keeping up with our growth. We looked out on the market to see if we could find some software to help run the shop, and we just could not find anything we thought was worth buying. It was right around that same time in 2000 that Brian actually joined our team as a machinist. So he was there from the very early stages. And he and all the rest of the team helped develop ProShop and helped our company grow over the next many years to a pretty good size shop. But during that time, we actually started even taking on some software customers starting in about 2008, 2009. And this was one of our largest machine shop customers that then became our first software customer. And then that kind of accelerated, although it wasn't that fast, our process of deciding to sell the shop and go full-time into the software business. So that happened in 2014 that we sold the shop. It wasn't until 2016 we actually turned on a website and started bringing ProShop to all of you. But here we are today, and that brings us to our first essential thing that we really truly believe that everything as much as possible needs to be in one cohesive system. It's just so disruptive when it's not. And so I'll tell you how we got there. So 97, there were 6 of us, if you can believe it, in one machine. We tried to keep that thing running around the clock as much as possible. There's that same building with some paint on the walls. And by the time this picture was taken, we actually bought a second machine, a VF2 as well. But we were, we had the problem that we had lots of, even as small as we were, we had lots of data in various little places. There was certainly some tribal knowledge. We didn't have everything accessible to the setup machinists and the operators and whoever was doing things. And so Kelsey on our team used his whiz-bang Excel skills and built us some pretty cool, gotta say, for 97, 98, pretty cool spreadsheets. And if you study these sheets, you will see an incredible amount of detail that we tried to put as much, and there was more tab. These were from 2 different tabs on this sheet, but we really tried to put everything that we possibly could, right? From, the material PO numbers and the mill specs and how much time it should take to do things. And was it signed off, and, and the work instructions and the cutting tools and where your G54 zeros were and all these kinds of things. And we'd have visual basic macros for spawning new work orders and things, but it became, ultimately a bit too challenging, but it was a wonderful addition or improvement over what we were originally doing when we first opened the doors. So with that,
about the time, I was just going to say, this is about the time that I actually came into the company, and it was hugely different for me to have at my fingertips all the information that I needed. I was used to working in other shops that you very often had to run around asking people what to do, how to do it, what they knew about the job. You very occasionally would find a folder with some information in it that was usually disconnected from what the active job was. And it was just always a mess. So having everything basically available within a couple of clicks right at the point where I was working was a huge change for me as a machinist, and really a welcome change at that.
So probably a little less frustrating than what you were accustomed to.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the ability to actually share my information with other people as well was really kind of key to being able to work as efficiently as we could to get stuff out the door and keep the spindles turning.
Yeah, awesome. And it was that reinforcement from people like Brian that, quite honestly, had way more years in the industry than we did. We'd only just come out of college shortly before that, and we're just kind of making it up as we went. So it was definitely validating that we're on the right track. So I'd love to bring in Tim Rousseau from Above All CNC. Hey, Tim, how's it going today? Thank you for joining us.
Paul. Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So this kind of thought about you for this because you recently were featured in a Modern Machine Shop article, which maybe Sarah can dig up and share with us in the chat. But love to hear your perspective on what you used to do before, having disparate information in various places, and then what it's meant to you and your team and your decision making and everything, your efficiencies to kind of get as much into one spot as possible.
Yeah. So the Cliff Notes, I started Above All in 2016, came from managing a shop that I started in right out of high school. So I'd been there for about 13 years. About halfway through my career there, we had implemented another ERP system. So I was familiar with that. In my company, initially, I was bootstrapping it, started it all on my own, was using Excel and just whatever worked for me to keep track of things. And then as I started a family and needed to hire people and got multiple machines and then also had to run a business, it became very obvious that we had to do something to collect all of this. So I wasn't aware that you guys actually started in 2016, or went live with Selling Pro Shop. So I was just looking through my email, and I think I contacted you in 2018. And Yeah, I mean, the way you describe the software, having everything contained, we use it end to end from estimating all the way to certificate of conformance and packing slip. The only thing that it doesn't handle is the accounting side, obviously. It's insane how much time it saves and how much more fluid it is. We do use, for dim tagging, like high QA, to import, but it's purely for an import thing. Like, we're in and out of that software on a per job basis, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then all of the work is done in Pro Shop. We watched some of your webinars in the last year and introduced ourselves to the tool crib, as well as process development. And we've implemented those things as well. And it's awesome. Also been huge. I mean, the inventory management with tools or helicoils or dowel pins, I took care of 2 weeks of purchasing requirements in like 6 minutes this morning, nice. Using the purchasing dashboard. So it's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't even know how much we're into you guys every year for like the software, because I don't think about it. It doesn't matter. It's a necessity. Like it just works so well. And in a day and age where everybody has or wants every bit of information on their phone, I've noticed with the younger generation here at the shop, having all the kiosks at the machine and all the available data accessible to them at any moment's notice throughout the shop has been huge in productivity and shortening setup times. So
fantastic. Does it help? I mean, helped you focus on, or I guess as you freed up more of your time, are you able to do more of the things you feel like an owner should be doing?
Including nurturing like personal life, family. I have 2 young kids, that kind of stuff is very important to me. I don't want to be, working here all weekend into the middle of the night. It comes up here and there, but sure, it's pretty much a hard and fast rule that, people's lives outside of work are also very important. So if it's able to allow me to do those things and be present in those moments, then it also is just a no-brainer. Because I've worked for the alternative of that, and it's hard to watch,
Yeah. No, I certainly remember those all-nighters on occasion and long weekends, and trying to keep that work-life balance is certainly critical.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Tim. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's to see also that, you started with certain aspects and then you've onboarded additional modules, and that has continued to kind of pay back or free up time or let you be more efficient. Is super common, right? ProShop is a pretty vast system, and it would be quite an undertaking to try to jump in and take every single module on at once. It'd probably be impossible. So, as you have time to onboard other aspects or modules, it's great to hear that that's continuing to pay you dividends.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Paul.
Yes, thank you so much, Tim. All right, so our second essential is getting rid of the paper. Sometimes this is a tricky process. People love to hold on to their paper and hold it in their hands, and but if your job travelers look anything like this, which are taken from a customer before they switched, we need to, this section is for you, because there are so many pitfalls and potential mistakes, very expensive ones, in this packet right here. All the red Sharpie notes to use gloves. How many times do we see that written all over these things, and things crossed out, and heaven forbid this gets misfiled. That would be a complete disaster. So we're going to also play a quick little where's Brian, because Brian is hiding in this picture. I'll keep it short. He's right here behind his toolbox in this big CRT monitor, which does date. both him and us as a company. So again, about 3 years in, we had about a dozen people, maybe four or five machines at the time. And these Excel sheet things, which sometimes were digital, sometimes were not, were very much becoming problematic. And so we went honestly into an earnest search for software. And we just could not find anything that we thought was worth buying. So instead, we knew this guy, Matt, who was friends with a friend of my partner, Kelsey, and talked to him, and he's like, yeah, I could build you something. And we very naively thought it would take maybe a year to two to build a simple system that would replace our spreadsheet. And then we'd be good to go, and you just keep using that in the future. But we just kept coming up with more and more features that we wanted to build. And this next slide, not what it looked like originally, but the concept is very much still the same. You know, we took basically what we had in those spreadsheets and put it into a browser-based environment. So we didn't have to say, hey, would you close that sheet so I can open it up? Right, that was the constant thing as we were trying to deal with Excel. But Brian, I'd love for you to maybe to speak to what it's like as a machinist or an inspector or a lead to, you know, to just show up and have everything that you need to do in one spot.
Yeah, I mean, having brought the system into a web browser, I think was really kind of key for that. We're able to use, well, I mean, at the time we didn't have multiple tabs or anything, but, you know, eventually we did. We were able to use multiple windows. We could log into multiple computers. It was very common for us to be able to run more than one machine at the same time, and having a computer at each machine and being able to open this information was really key. And of course, once you get to this page, which is usually you open up the schedule, you click on the work order, you review the work order, and then click on the operation, and boom, you're right here. So you know, 2 or 3 clicks. But once you're here, everything you need to do, everything you need to know about the job is here. I can track my time. I can do my inspections. I can refer to the work instructions, or even go in and add new work instructions, and review the cutting tool list and know which tools do I have, what do I need, where can I find them in the tool library, same thing with the fixturing. All of that information is just on this one screen. And like I said, being in a browser, even in the beginning, it was really nice because everyone was really into the internet. It turned out it was pretty good foresight to actually go into a browser, because here we are today, and it's ubiquitous. But really easy to navigate, way easier than Excel, certainly easier than looking for a piece of paper. And again, just everything right there that you could possibly need without having to go anywhere else to find the data.
Yeah, and I'll give credit to both Brian and, you know, all the other folks that worked on our shop floor, because they were the ones out there making parts every day, saying, you know what would be really helpful is if I had a link right here that took me to this type of a page. So the whole design of it and the whole architecture was just super organically built by people, you know, from the feedback of people like Brian and all the other folks on the team. So
yeah.
And again, as we brought employees in from other shops, this was kind of a, you know, a big realization of sort of what it was like to go from paper-based to non-paper-based. But they'd also bring fresh ideas that we didn't have ourselves. You know, some of them had been in the industry a long time and had lots of great ideas for how to present data or look at things, or a different form that might be needed. So speaking of someone that's been in industry a long time, I'd love to bring up Kurt from KJAM Perfection. Kurt, if you want to turn on your camera and unmute yourself. Thank you so much for being here. And I will first note for those looking at this screen that it is indeed the case that that Kurt has put our logo down into the corner of his logo and sign on his building. That is immensely humbling, Kurt. I don't even think I realized you'd done that until sometime after you told me you had done that. So yeah, thank you for joining us today, and would love to hear a little bit about your shop and what it was like to get rid of paper and bring everything into sort of a paperless system.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And so far as your logo goes, that's sort of a marketing tool for us to attract some of these younger kids from school who are into the newer technology and whatnot. So we're kind of using you guys, and it works.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Yeah, tell us a little bit about Cage Imperfection. What you were doing before Pro Shop, and what it's been like to get rid of paper off your floor.
Well, we opened in 1980. We've always been here in Houma, Louisiana. We actually started with a database way back then, and I think it was called Lotus.
Oh yeah.
You switched 2 or 3 times until we landed with Pro Shop. We found you guys. One day we were just slow at the office, so I went home and started doing some research. And when I called, if you remember, Paul, you had answered the phone, and you did a quick demo for me. And one of the bullet points on my checklist was the document, or the saving of the documents, or eliminating the paperwork.
Yep.
And when I saw how quickly you could save documents without having to create a folder hierarchy and name them and maintain a server and all of the expenses that go with that, the paper, the toner, the IT support, it's a huge, just the paper part of the whole thing is just a huge savings.
Mm-hmm.
We used to accumulate stacks of paper for someone to come behind us to grab and then take to another computer to scan it and, you know, figure out where it belongs and whatnot. Now it's just, we don't accumulate anything because it's scanned into the system immediately, because the associated page that it belongs in is already open. So
right,
it's a no-brainer. There's practically, we're not 100% paperless, but we're probably 95% or so.
sure, yeah.
We had an office trailer that we've since gotten rid of, but the entire hallway over the length of the office trailer was stacked with filing cabinets, much like what you have there. Got rid of all of that. We used to have those banker's boxes. So every year we would purge the filing cabinet, store the documents in the box, send the box to a storage unit. And then after 10 years, we would purge anything older than 10 years from the storage unit and send it to the shredder. It was a cycle. And realistically, to go back and find information in that is practically, I guess it's not impossible, but it would be an arduous task if you needed to retrieve a document that was even 5 years old.
Sure.
So we're kind of in the business of putting shredders out of business, right? You don't need to hire them anymore.
Man, we had a shredder at every desk, and then when we got right before we got Pro Shop, we graduated from that to we outsourced it so that we could recycle the paper. We had 2 big bins of that. Now we're down to 1, and that doesn't even fill up once a month. It's huge. And like I said, it's not just the cost of the paper and that sort of stuff. It's the management of the documents. That's where the real expense is. Mm-hmm. Especially if, you know, a customer calls looking, you know, urgently wanting an MTR or something from 2 years ago. Now it's seconds, you know, and they have it within seconds. We're going through the process of obtaining our API certification now. We just finished our final audit. During this process, we had to deal with 3 different consultants, and every one of them said that Pro Shop is one of the most advanced systems that they've seen. And I guess the American Petroleum Institute is used to the old school stuff, because it would be typical for them to call and say, you know, I'm coming to do your audit, and so I want you to prepare these documents for me, meaning the paperwork.
Right.
Which we would do, but then when they needed additional documents, they were so impressed how quickly we could retrieve them. It makes the whole process, you know, of an audit just so much more seamless.
Yeah, that's and just love to have you share just very briefly what it was like with your people on the shop floor. It sounds like you're trying to attract that younger, set of employees, but some of the ones that were there before, was it? I imagine there's always some challenge with that and some trepidation at first.
Yeah, some of these guys are my age and they're kind of stuck on the old way, and they hate to lose the paper part, but everyone's coming around. The younger guys now, we quickly realized that one monitor was good, but two monitors are a lot better. So we outfitted each work center with two monitors, and
Awesome.
yeah, these guys take to this like it's second nature. It's so easy to train them, as opposed to, like you mentioned before, spreadsheets. I think spreadsheets are probably kind of old fashioned compared to this system.
Sure.
A lot of kids are not really learning spreadsheets like you would think.
That's
And
true.
it's not really, it's not necessary as far as our business goes.
Yeah.
Any spreadsheets we keep is just for notes and things like that, but everything that we do is we haven't fully implemented every module, but we're getting there. And so I think that the once we get to, if we get to the point where we can say we are 100% integrated with ProShop, you guys will have upgraded it, and then we'll have to catch up to the new bells and whistles that you put in it.
Yeah, it is a journey, and we're always adding new stuff. So, well, Kurt, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your experience. I'm sure a lot of folks on this call can relate to it. It's just a really common situation that many shops find themselves in. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
All right, number 3, really having an integrated and not just quality management, but business management process. Way back in the day, as we were about 10, not quite 10 years old, maybe 8 to 9 years old, we decided that we wanted to get our ISO certification. We wanted to get AS certification ultimately. And we were trying to, and this was Brian's idea, we're trying to check the bingo boxes of, what we thought, clients would want for us to get into that higher echelon of clients, of industries. But I also think we were foundationally believed that it was really important to have really good business processes that helped to run our company. We'd read the E-Myth and several other books and realized that the most profitable companies, the most well-run companies, are ones that had really good business processes. And if we could sort of check off that box, as well as get that ISO and AS cert and ITAR and various things down the line, that we could not only attract and get into the right industries, but probably be more profitable at the same time. And so we built a bunch of modules. This is why it didn't take just a year or two to build ProShop. So these are all modules, and I swear I cannot. This would be like a complete spaghetti plate of spaghetti with the way that every single module links to every other module. It just would be impossible to represent. So hopefully this is represented good enough. There's a whole section of this board that has all the other modules that aren't even included in the QMS aspect of it. And again, folks like Brian and people on the team were very organic in helping us design and build this over the years. And Brian, you shared this one. Took this screenshot just this morning and gave it to us to put into here. You want to share a little bit about what it was like to be able to have this aspect of the system developed and help our shop?
Yeah, in a very traditional organized shop, and I say organized because a lot of shops that are traditional are not organized, but in an organized shop, what you get is a first article report or some sort of an inspection report. You fill it in, usually by hand. Someone reviews that data. They double check your numbers to make sure everything is in tolerance. And if it's not in tolerance, then they follow the path. And you often write down your name and what inspection equipment you're using and so on and so forth. And all of that is just preset. So as a machinist, when I walk up to a job, it's right there. I open it up. I can fill in my results. It automatically calculates for me whether or not it's intolerance. And if it's not intolerance, it gives me the option to go ahead and go down the path of nonconformance reporting. And then, of course, that auto generates a message to a specific user, usually an inspector or a supervisor, that, hey, Brian had a problem on the shop floor. Do you want to go and check it out? So again, all of this information is just right on the page that I'm already working on with my setup notes and my tool list and all the other details that I need. And I don't have to do anything special. My planner's already got that ready for me. And my setup times, in practicality, all of our setup times went down because we didn't have to wander around and we didn't have to do a bunch of manual data entry. It was all preset for us. And that was huge when we looked at trying to be more efficient out on the shop floor, again, to keep those spindles turning and keep parts moving through the shop.
Awesome. Could not have said that better. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, so there's this sort of tactical level, which of course is important. We also brought it from the whole, very high level business process and how that related to our interest in being compliant to various standards like AS 9100. And so we built a bunch of functionality to be able to tie directly into various modules or pages or places within ProShop, or even external in some cases, and tying it right into what the standard says we have to do to meet the requirements of the standard and pass an audit. So from things like the standard here, and then incorporating things like RMAs, and making sure that the overhead work, which it is definitely additional work, there's no two ways about that. The additional work that it takes to maintain an ISO or AS or API or 1345, whatever the compliance standard is, doing it in a way that is as efficient and time efficient as possible, so that we're not having to hire people just to fill out forms and push paperwork and slow down and not have those spindles be turning. So I'd love to now introduce Jeremy from TK Machine. Jeremy, I'd love to have you share a little bit about your shop. Thank you so much for being here. You just recently got your AS certification. Kelly and Mike on our team helped you a bunch with that. And I'd love to have you just talk a little bit about the importance of integrating really solid quality processes into your shop's workflow, and a little bit about TK.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
For being here.
So we just got our AS 9100. Let's see, what was it? Beginning of June or end of June, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has, let's see, it was actually pretty. I say it was easy, but I wasn't doing a lot of the work. Kelly and Michael were, but I don't think we would have gotten it if I had to implement it. So that was a huge help to do the flying start and have them working on it as well. And it's made our workflow a lot better. Everybody knows what to expect. Everybody's on the same page as far as the quality and all that goes. And all the information is it's right there for them, so they don't have to go searching for it.
So I know that having sat with you, looking at your system, and just seeing you in your shop, and I'll give a little sneak peek. We are actually through this process of helping Jeremy get certified, which took about 4 to 5 months, I think, in total. We actually shot a mini documentary about it. So we visited a couple of times and had a film crew there. And but anyway, sitting and watching you work and seeing what your system looked like, I could tell that you're kind of, I don't want to call you OCD, but you love your I's dotted, you love your T's crossed, you want things to line up and not be incomplete. And that's quite honestly a really important aspect about certification, is you gotta, when the auditor comes and says, show me the objective evidence that you do it the way we say you have to do it, or that you say you do it, that you can't be missing a bunch of stuff. So I know you told me that this kind of helped facilitate a reason to do things the way that you always wanted to do it. Is that a fair statement?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of it was stuff that we wanted to implement, but we just keep kicking the can down the road, right? And got into a situation where we wanted to open more doors for more customers. We'd had customers reach out, and we didn't have a QMS system in place at the time, and so we jumped in to do it just to open those doors, and it forced us to do a lot of those things, and they just got to make time for it. So.
And would you say that the additional work that it does take, because it does take more work to be compliant than not, do you still think at the end of the day that time is more than fed back in process or profitability or whatever?
Yeah. We would spend a lot of time before, fixing mistakes that would slip through the cracks. They would never make it to the customer.
Right.
But things would slip through and we'd catch it, and, redoing things. It always takes longer than doing it right the first time.
Yeah,
So.
That's for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I appreciate it. It was so fun to work with you, getting your cert and do that video. And we will be releasing that to the world soon. It's our first little mini documentary, and it was awesome to do that with you.
Yeah, it was fun. So
yeah, fantastic. All right, we're gonna keep moving here. Unfortunately, the client scheduled for this section was not able to join us, but we're still going to share their story and the story of our own shop. And this is not quite as much a pro shop centric thing. It's tangentially related, but when we really decided to formally make this part of our company, it was about 2010. We had about 50 employees at the time, and we kept on having the same problems over and over again, right? And we knew some concepts of lean and this whole sort of continuous improvement mindset. We'd read The Goal and some of those other important books, and we just knew there was ways for our company to just get better and faster. And so we decided to formally kind of, really dig into kind of a lean manufacturing transformation, which I know sometimes is a buzzword and is sort of thing of the day or of the week at some companies. But we really dug into it. And one of the things that I wanted to point out here is that this was in our office. We had sort of these Kaizen tickets, which look like this. And sometimes, the solutions to those things were just shop activities. It's building a little workstation for doing packaging or changing out the way we, cut material or who knows what. But sometimes it was actually a pro shop enhancement. And that's what this far right column was. Sometimes these Kaizen tickets would be like, there's no real easy way for us to solve this with plywood or duct tape or cardboard. So this is going to be a software solution. And we put those ones into that column on the far right. And so we did this in the office. We did this, I think we had, Brian, maybe 4 or 5 different teams at different departments in the company. And you were instrumental in, the shop ones. Can maybe share a little bit about what that was like to kind of culturally kind of move that direction and the impact?
Yeah. So as a culture, we all learned, every employee was involved in a team at some point in time. We would rotate teams. If you worked sort of in different areas, like I worked in the office as well as out on the shop floor. So I was, there's a good picture there. I was on multiple teams at multiple times. But learning about continuous improvement provided us with, obviously, the ability to improve, right? That's important. You want to continually work to doing things better, making them easier, making them more efficient. But at the same time, we also learned what improvement really was, what waste is, and how it affected our daily lives. And it's common to be thinking about when you go to work, all the crap that you have to deal with, all the stuff that's not fun, and learning about those things there on the right. What is the improvement, or what is the waste, and how do we categorize it and classify it? Learning about all of that helped us to really parse out all of the different wastes that we were seeing, talk about it in an intelligent way, and then come up with meaningful solutions that weren't moving the waste from one person to the other, but actually addressing the root cause of why these things were a problem. And so we could stop doing them ultimately forever, rather than just, like I said, kind of moving it from one stage to the next. And okay, well, we moved it over there. Now it looks a little different. And so let's look at it again. It's much more involved than that. And yeah, like you said, this can be done in any environment. It's done in all kinds of companies around the world, medical, it's done in hospitals. They do it in office buildings. It's a really great way to build culture and community within the company, because everybody's working in teams, and that's great for community. But also at the same time have tangible results at the end of the day or the end of the cycle or whatever you want. And then you get to do it all over again, and you just keep working on it, and you keep finding things that you can continue to improve on. And as a machinist and as a project manager and a scheduler, having the ability to have an impact on the way that we as a company ran and what we did for our work was huge. It was a huge amount of employee satisfaction that I personally got from that, and I know that a lot of our coworkers did as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. That was perfection. I think and I'll give credit to Kelsey and Scott on our team, who kind of were the lean champions at different times, but did such a great job of really including everyone. I mean, look at this stuff, just really going to town with super deep, value stream workshops. We're really questioning everything that we did, and why we did it, and do we need to do it, and how that compared to the waste of the Toyota production system. And as I said, sometimes there'd be a software solution, and this is an example of what we call process development, where it's like a way right in ProShop to identify problems, identify solutions, and people to do those. It not only helped our general business processes to implement lean, but individual part numbers as well, right? And so that's the level you can take it to. And then I wanted to highlight, and again, Kevin or Brian from JJR couldn't join us on this with scheduling. Things came up at the last minute, but really cool shop, JJR Engineering Fabrication down in Woodinville, Washington. And when we were down there to shoot a video last fall, this cork board is in their employee meeting space right on the shop floor. There's a space where they come and they have their morning meetings. And I, again, kind of like Kurt and our logo on his building, I was blown away to have our mission statement right there, along with the book 2 Second Lean, which is written by a guy named Paul Akers, who ironically lives here right in the same town as we do. So Bellingham, Washington. So a lot of influence on JJR from up north. But they have fully bought into making improvement a daily part of their day, spending time to learn about lean, to make improvement activities every single day to their workspaces. So and it has transformed their shop. And I'm just going to very quickly, I was going to show a video, but I'm not. We're going to jump right into a picture, although Sarah can probably share the video if you want to watch it on your own, video that they made with us. But this is just, I think, a brilliant example of how they combine the digital side and the physical side. So you'll notice this is a snapshot out of ProShop. This is one of their job routers. And Operation 2005 is final inspection. And so they built a department, 2005. There's a big sign sticking up right out of the top, and this rack, this stainless steel rack, right next to the workbench is final inspection. 2005, and here's the digital dashboard of every work order that has to go through Operation 2005. And so they want to be able to employee to walk into the building, know exactly which department or which station is matching the digital side of where a job is going to go. Be able to pull up that job on a dashboard right here and go straight to exactly what they need to do. So it's all itemized, it's all laid out, and it's one of the best examples of just a really sort of pure, meshing of the digital and physical side. So I just, really wanted to share. It's check out that video. It's a really cool company doing cool stuff.
I think that's important to recognize that when you work in a digital environment, you have to translate that into the physical world as well. And they did an excellent job of that, like you said.
Yeah. And it seems like it's such a simple concept when you see it in practice. It's like, oh, they just made up some signs. It's make it very visual. They put big TVs. It's actually not a major investment in the grand scheme of things, but just so great. So the last one I want to share, number 5, is having great partners. And for us, that actually was a whole bunch of different organizations. So, and actually, we're going to go back in our own timeline. In 2002, probably early, because we all remember 9/11 and that we were pretty heavy into aerospace, and 9/11 was devastating to the aerospace industry. And the prior 3 or 4 years after we started our shop, the economy was strong, things were good, we thought we were brilliant businessmen. When 9/11 happened and our work dropped off a cliff, we were not prepared. We did not know what to do. We weren't good at managing our cash flow. We thankfully found, through our local university here, the Small Business Development Center, and this gentleman, Tom Dorr, who I will credit for. I would not be here standing in front of you if it was not for Tom. We were literally weeks away from bankruptcy, and he helped coach us through that and make some important but tough decisions about how to handle that. And it really just was the first time in our history where we took some outside consulting, some outside help, admitted that we didn't know everything, and we needed some help. So just an incredible part of our story. Next, I'd say most impactful, we engaged with our local MEP, the National Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which hopefully all of you know. Every state has their own MEP partner. For us, it's called Impact Washington. And Sarah Stewart was a consultant for both ISO AS and Lean, and she kind of specialized in doing both. So she was a huge part of our story. A lot of that stuff we just shared about Lean and continuous improvement came from Sarah and her brilliant mind. So unfortunately, we didn't find a really strong software partner, but here we are today. So maybe, I guess it was good that we didn't find one. And then we try to do this for our customers. So here's 5 of our team at True Life last week, actually. Really try to be a partner to our customers. And here's the guys at Canon Machine Works with their apartment-sized machine. It was one of the biggest lathes I'd ever seen in my life. Here's Brian with one of our student businesses that we donate ProShop to help their students learn more and run their businesses a lean way. And I'm going to bring up here Mike Payne from Hill Manufacturing. I think Mike's camera is on the fritz right now, but Mike, are you here with us?
I am here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, buddy.
I appreciate you can't see me, but
no. So we've been working together for quite a while. I know when you bought Hill several years ago, you kind of jumped both feet into the industry, engaged with lots of different companies, partners, and I think have a good perspective on what it means to partner with good companies, good organizations to help you guys succeed. And I'd love to have you share just a little bit of that with our crew here today.
Yeah, Ed, thanks for having me. I love the opportunity to talk about, just having good partners, because I think, throughout my career, whether that was when I was in private equity or, have now transitioned into the manufacturing space, it's, all my successes I can point to having good partners. And, I remember years and years and years ago, I don't know who said it, I don't know where it came from, but, there's the saying, like, all things being equal, I want to do business with friends. All things not being equal, I want to do business with friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like, honestly, I mean, that's a lot of what I got out of Pro Shop. Paul, you've become a great friend of mine, a great mentor in this industry. For those people that don't know my background, I spent 20 years in private equity, did a lot in and around manufacturing, was actually even in the manufacturing software business early in my career. But when I bought, a 40 machine shop with all these employees and so forth in 2017, didn't know the day-to-day and how to make that successful. I knew I had a good shop, a good legacy business. I knew I had goals for growth. We definitely didn't have the systems to support that. We had, much like the stories everybody else has told, we had an Access database supported by Excel, supported by a file room. And it worked, but it was not going to help us grow. Honestly, Paul and Pro Shop are one of the kind of the first things I explored once I got into the industry. And I mean, we have doubled in 5 years, which was our original goal. And awesome. We wouldn't have done it without Pro Shop. But even, so beyond that, I mean, so being a good partner with Pro Shop or feeling like they're a good partner to me anyway. I don't know how much value I bring them on a day-to-day basis, but
well, you're here sharing your story, so that's immense.
Sure. But as much as I've learned about the industry, or even just calling Paul or Zach or somebody when I just can't figure something out, or how did you handle this? Having that outlet has been great. We've gotten customers because of Pro Shop. We've gotten vendors. I mean, your good partners, the people you've chosen to do work with. Someone mentioned High QA earlier. We use High QA.
Yeah, great company.
Help. It's been a huge help for us. Machine monitoring was something we were very interested with. You guys partnered with Datanomics.
Yeah.
That endorsement by you has now turned into Datanomics is a great partner of mine, right? I mean, the same thing. I can call them. I talk through things. There's feature development that comes out of those conversations. But I mean, just in general, outside of the world of Pro Shop, I mean, I think anybody in business knows the value of good partners, right? Whether it's your banker, your accountant, your lawyer, your maybe a mentor, a previous boss, a business partner, any of those types of things. We all need those, right? From whether it's through some of those tough conversations, the tough times, like you were talking about, being weeks away from bankruptcy, and your MEP helps you, or I guess it was your MEP helped you.
Yep.
Yeah. Our MEP has been critical to us, right? My banker is absolutely one of my best friends. Same with my accountant. Partnerships in general just make us better, right? And if those people care about our business, like I truly believe your team cares about our business, it just helps us all be better, right? Much like I care about Pro Shop, which is why when you asked me if I'll get on here, I want to help you guys. Like if this is helpful, then I want to do that because you've done a lot for me. We talk a lot about the tangible things of Pro Shop, and again, we wouldn't be where we are without it. But I had shared a story with Paul that I'll share with the group. Over the last couple of months, we've been doing a large project for one of our top 2 or 3 customers, and it's eating our lunch. I mean, it's just absolutely. We probably shouldn't have taken it. Found out middle way through the job we were about the only shop that would take it in the area, which is maybe never a good sign. We're missing deadlines.
This happen on occasion.
Yeah. we're missing deadlines, which means they're missing deadlines, which means they got to answer, so it all kind of came to a meeting Monday. They were coming over, and of course, we're just expecting the worst. We all get down in the conference room. I'd gone in there early. I'd pulled up all pulled up the PO with all the parts and the work orders and where we're at with everything. And it was the first time this group from that customer had ever been to our shop. I'd never met any of this group. Which is also not a good sign. It had been escalated, right? So we were meeting now with like all of our normal team's bosses, basically. And I kid you not, I shared this with Paul. 10 minutes into the meeting, when they saw how well we had our stuff together, because we had it all right there on the screen in ProShop, it totally changed the tone. They understood all of a sudden. I mean, we're not just goofing off, like we're struggling. And it was brand new part, it's 10 new parts of a bomb that they're doing that it's first time they've ever been made. I mean, so there's been engineering problems, there's been material problems, there's all sorts of problems. It totally changed the tone. We walked out of that meeting, we're all on the same page. We talked about deviations that if they can get approved, we can cut this from 3 more weeks to 3 more days. I mean, 3 to 4 weeks to 4 days.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're all on the same page. We're all happy. We had the inspection data they needed. We had everything we needed just at our fingertips. And, I've talked to them every day since. They're thrilled. We're happy. We're starting to deliver parts like Friday instead of, a week ago, we were telling them it's 3 to 4 more weeks. So anyway, that, just there's all the obvious benefits of, some of the things we talked about, you'd get with, no offense to ProShop, you'd get with a lot of ERP systems, right?
Sure.
You'd get with a lot of accounting packages, you'd get with quoting packages. All these individual systems are out there. I think ProShop brings them together the best. But having you guys that have walked us through this over the last 5 years, it's taught me the business. It's introduced me to other people in the industry that taught me the business. Has just been invaluable.
Wow, Mike. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad that story turned out as good as it did. I know we can all relate to jobs that have just kicked our butt. We probably shouldn't have taken in the first place, but glad that we could help be a positive in that equation. We are getting close to time here. I want to just ask any of the other panelists that are on with us, if you want to come back on, unmute, share anything. Thank you, Anthony, in the chat. It's hard to find partners sometimes that people really care about your business. So it's important when you do, because like Mike said, a lot of times that can snowball. I know of other clients that started with us, and now we're working with EBITDA Growth Systems, one of our partners for profit consulting. We introduce them to their new accounting firm. They've gotten clients that we introduced them to, and I know back in our days, Tom and Sarah that helped us so much. They introduced us to other people. So yeah, hopefully you can find good partners. We would love to be one of those for you if you're not working with us already. Hopefully it comes across that we genuinely care. We're trying to do the best by all these manufacturing companies that are so important to our economy, to our world. If anyone does follow me on LinkedIn, definitely please share and use the Thank a Machinist hashtag, just as a shameless plug for that. Because as you all know, machining is part of everything in the world, but most people have no idea that's the case. And I definitely want to continue to advocate for that, get more knowledge out there in the world. Sarah also dropped the links to the podcast Mike was on, Machine Shop Mastery, my podcast, which is, you kind of see the logo here. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate your time. And again, if you're looking for a good partner that's not just out to sell you some software, but really be in your corner, we would love to chat with you. So thank you all for your time today. Thanks, Brian, for sharing your perspective. Thank you to Kurt and Tim and Jeremy and Mike for your joining us today. And we'll see you all on the next webinar. Have a great rest of your day.